And we are live. Welcome to the MLB Strategy Show. It is Monday, August 8th. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer, and we are brought to you by Prize Picks. 7-game slate today. Very, very easy to digest. Kind of a weird one from a pitching perspective, and we will get into that in a little bit. But first, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Adam, I would ask you how your weekend was. I know it wasn't good, and I really don't want to try to rub that in because it annoys me. I know it doesn't annoy me as much as it annoys you, but I know that it annoys you. So, did anything else good happen to you in DFS this weekend?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it was a very annoying weekend. Still not really happy about it. Drank my way through the weekend. I think I'll get over it now and just be good to go.
Sucks. Just sucks. Dude ran hot, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those things too. Like, it reminds you how unrelatable your job is. Like, because obviously I bitch about it. I've been bitching about it to anybody that'll listen. But like, so many people are just like, yeah, but you made 75K. Like, blah blah blah. It's like, I don't care.
I also lost that in expected value in a contest ticket.
Right.
It's just brutal. It's just brutal. I feel bad. I don't have anything to say. I don't have jokes. I did wake up to your tweets about shooting me, which was hilarious when I started reading them. That's for sure. No, I don't have jokes for that. It's one thing to poke fun at other stuff. This one just sucks. There's nothing funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no silver lining.
Yeah, and also I'm an idiot for not going to a state where I could sports bet. Like, I had thought about it. I thought about going to either like Pennsylvania or DC, but I didn't. And I didn't think it was going to matter because like of how the card started with his guy just doing great. And I was just like, oh, I wouldn't have bet that fight anyway. But it ended up getting to where I just needed the two favorites at the end of the night to win. So I easily could have just fired money on Jeff Neal and at least gotten some back. So I was pretty dumb for not doing that too.
What are you going to do? It would have been really cool for me to have won in UFC last Saturday with you in Dallas instead of this week in the mini-max.
Not like we could have done anything anyway, though.
It's very true. Well, money would be nice.
Well, yeah.
Or even just simply winning the main contest this week instead of the mini-max, which would have been a difference between $650 and $8,000. But
yeah, that would have been nice too.
Anyway, how much Tom Kim did you have yesterday? Or I guess in general.
12%. So not enough.
12% too much as far as I'm concerned. I had 0 and things were looking quite good for all of the weekend, so long as he wasn't in first or second, because Im and John Huh were like 2 of my top 8 golfers. I was in second in the Albatross when round 4 kicked off. Went out to play a game of cornhole with a buddy of mine, came back in, and he had went like birdie, 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 eagle, birdie, 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 or whatever the hell that he did on the front 9. Shot a 27, I believe, and I had no chance after that. So golf was sad. Felt like a bad way to break even in 150 max when you have 51% 5 of 6 and 31% 6 of 6. Special thanks to Shane Lowry for being dead last of people that did anything of value. So
yeah, that's kind of been my golf recently too. Like, I've had a couple of weeks where I just end up like jamming in the guy that ends up winning and then still lose money somehow.
Yeah, it's not fun. Well, we got this super chat on Friday, and it looked really good. Evidently, it got better. George with the super chat. Thursday, second place in the MLB four-seamer. Friday, won the 100K tournament and the $1 mini-max. Saturday, won the four-seamer. All thanks to you guys. Thanks a lot. Dude, I mean, give yourself some credit for this one. 3 straight days. That is so awesome. I imagine the balance in your account looking pretty tasty right now in comparison to a couple of days ago. So congratulations. I don't know what else to say. Do you want to host the show? Or at least be the analyst?
Yeah, I'll gladly go back to sleep.
Go clean up that glass.
Yeah. Waking up to broken glass in my apartment today.
For real though, congratulations. That's a hell of a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You can't really ask for much more there. That's as hot as you could run. Good shit.
Yeah, that's awesome. I saw when he won, and I was like, oh, I would guess that's probably who that is, but wasn't sure.
There you go. 7 games today. We've got your Orioles in the first game. This is a very weird pitching slate because there aren't any big time pay up options. We'll get to that in a bit. I'm ready to talk baseball if you are.
Yeah, let's go.
Orioles and Blue Jays, first game up on the list. Actually, hit that like button too. 50 likes, 200 viewers. We're going to run that number up a little bit higher. 4.4 run implied total for the Orioles, 5 for the Blue Jays. Jordan Lyles and Yusei Kikuchi. Even on this 7-gamer, no one going to Lyles. Even on this 7-gamer, still people getting to a little bit of Kikuchi against your Orioles. 8% owned right now. I had 10% on my first crunch. Do you like Lyles more or Kikuchi more?
Kikuchi, just because he is a better strikeout pitcher and he's not facing the Blue Jays.
Sure. That tends to help here. Do you anticipate getting to Kikuchi? He is 6,800. That is the fourth cheapest guy. Everybody else is basically, this entire pitching slate is just sort of separated by $100 up and down the ladder. Is he the preferred value option, or is that going to be Keegan Thompson?
There he is. I'll say I didn't even see Keegan Thompson in the top pitchers tool, but I think it's probably Thompson. But both of them are similar. Like I think in terms of chances of success, I'm kind of surprised we have such a big gap in the top pitchers tool between Thompson and Kikuchi. We have Thompson at 19% chance of being top 2, Kikuchi only at 9%. But Kikuchi's got the second best strikeout percentage on the entire slate. He gives up power. 4.36 xFIP is mediocre. 1.8 home runs per 9 isn't good. 13% walk percentage isn't good. But still, the second highest strikeout percentage on the slate. He is pitching in Baltimore, which should help to limit right-handed power, just given that the wall in left field is ridiculous. So I'm kind of surprised he's not getting that. His ownership isn't closer to Thompson.
Me too. I have more Kikuchi than Thompson right now, so I'm on the same page as you. Just feels like a little bit better of a spot, especially given the 2x ownership. I can't see myself getting to any Lyles, so I don't really need to talk there. What we do need to talk about, though, that would be the Toronto Bats. Second in our top stack tool, number 1 in ownership as of this moment. And I can't disagree with that at all. I'm going to have a lot of Toronto here on a 7-gamer. It's just so much power and so much quality. I'm not trying to get away from it. The ownership doesn't really scare me at this point.
Yeah, that's how I see it as well. I mean, if you want to nitpick, Lyles has only allowed a 156 expected ISO to righties this year. You do have the wall in left field, so it's not like they're playing in Rogers Center. Those are negatives, I guess, but like it's still a 7-game slate. It's still a really good offense. I think it's still a good stack to get to for sure.
Yeah, they are the team that I have second most at this moment. Actually, it might be tops. No, they're tops. 30% of the stacks that I made were Blue Jays on that first run. Not that I want to maybe maintain. Well, actually, it is a 7-game slate, so it's not too crazy. It's not too much more than what we're projecting, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get away from these Blue Jays. 1, I'm very happy to take people against Jordan Lyles, and 2, I'm very happy to take them when they're the Blue Jays. They've got an aggregate WRC plus via Steamer of 118. That is the highest mark on this entire slate. So yeah, give me what I think is the best offense today going up against Jordan Lyles. 4th in top stack tool, 5th in ownership. That would be your Baltimore Orioles. Do you want to get to the Orioles here on the opposite side of Kikuchi?
Yeah, I think the ownership is reasonable. Getting 8% ownership, 7.5% chance of being the top stack. Kikuchi's given up power all year. Again, this is a favorable park shift for him when it comes to right-handed power, but still a 209 expected ISO to righties, 263 to lefties. Rutschman looks good. Mullins, Mountcastle, Santander, maybe Hayes will be back in the lineup. Who knows? He's been dealing with an oblique injury, but those guys all are going to look good. And then you do have a cheap Ramon Urias. Mateo, obviously steals bases, has some power. So I do like the Orioles here against Kikuchi.
I don't have much. I thought I would get some more, but this is looking like more of a fade. That shouldn't be all that surprising. I feel like I say the same thing about Baltimore every single slate. I just simply don't get there. I'm guessing that's just a function of Steamer being mildly lighter on Baltimore, but I am lighter on the Orioles right now. Not that I don't I would like to get a little bit more, especially if Kikuchi pulls any ownership at the bottom, but I don't get the sense that I'm going to have all that much. Most exposed guy that I had so far was Mullins in the leadoff spot, and that shouldn't be all that surprising.
Yeah, and definitely not something to shy away from. Only a 21.5% strikeout percentage against lefties for Kikuchi, 263 expected ISO.
Anything else you want to touch on in this one? I don't really see anything else that's all that interesting. Like the Blue Jays are just going to be one of those teams that we got to talk about.
Stephen Leibowitz asked about the wall in left field. I don't actually know the answer, but it's not just purely home runs turning into doubles. Like it's just a lot of flyouts also.
Yeah. I mean, runs are down so dramatically in Baltimore in comparison to what they were. It's
like
wholesale changes for outs.
Right. Like, yeah, there's a lot of doubles now, but like you're basically just turning home runs into doubles, and then there's plenty of balls that are caught that would have been home runs.
Yeah. Alrighty, schedule for the rest of the day. This one's easy. We've got it's Monday, so it's Best Ball Mania Monday on our Best Ball channel. Matt Savoca, Nick Lepre doing some best ball drafts. We've got the MLB Deeper Dive later today. Our schedule says 4:45. There's no way that's starting at 4:45. That show will be at 5 p.m. That will be Eric and Adam. I will then be back at 6 p.m. with Greg, taking you all the way up to 7:05. Free content for today. It's the best piece of content you're going to get. MLB player projections are free. If you are watching this video, head on over to Stokastic, browse directly to our projections. If you're watching a baseball DFS video, I assume you're at least looking for some sort of projections, at least a comparison point. You are in luck today. They are free for you. All righty. Next up, game number 2, Mets and Reds. God, this Reds team is so shitty. 5.6 run implied total for the Mets, 3.3 for the Reds. Chris Bassett going up against Justin Dunn. Justin Dunn, no ownership, and he shouldn't have any. Chris Bassett, 38% owned, basically tied for second in ownership. He's 9,300. He's the most expensive pitcher, and 9,300, in my opinion, still isn't enough. This is the guy that I'm getting to most as of right now. The Reds suck. Bassett doesn't. It's going to go deep in this game. I want all the Chris Bassett.
Yep, right there with you. Third highest strikeout percentage on the slate behind Snell and Kikuchi at 24%. 3.51 xFIP is obviously good. The Reds are very not good. They're playing in New York as opposed to whatever they're calling Great American Ballpark now. Yeah, good spot for Bassett. I think he's underpriced at 9,300.
Yeah, I got 60% on my first run, and I'm more than okay with that. I don't think the price is all that crazy, and when you get to face the Cincinnati Reds, it makes it pretty easy to want to get there. I'm honestly surprised that he's not getting more ownership, but we'll talk about some other guys in a little bit. Do you have any justification here for Justin Dunn as a pay down option against the Mets?
I do not.
Perfect. You shouldn't. I don't. I wasn't leading you into any hot take or anything like that. He looks awful. Just in case anybody's curious, Steamer projects him with a 5.18 FIP. That is pretty bad. So we're going to go ahead and skip him. And then we're going to talk about the Mets. Number 1 in our top stack tool. Number 2 in ownership. This is basically this other version of the Blue Jays for today. I probably, to me, they're basically equal. I don't really have much separating them for me personally from an ownership perspective. How do you feel about the Mets? Like, obviously we like them. And how do you feel about them in relationship to Toronto? Because I think that's the key piece here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I like them. Done last year with Seattle, 11 starts, 5.61 xFIP. The year before that, 10 starts, 6.23 xFIP, 1.07 home runs per 9 last year, 1.97 the year before that. So certainly happy to get to the Mets. I think I actually like them a little bit more than the Blue Jays just because I don't think Lyles is as bad as Dunn. And also there's not a 380-foot wall in left field in New York. So I think I actually like them a little bit more.
It's hard for me to quibble between the two. This is my number 1 and number 2 stack. They're pretty significantly higher than everybody else right now. So if I had it's going to come down to aggregate ownership, whatever these actual lineups end up being, where the actual separation happens. I wouldn't be surprised if I have basically the exact same amount of both of these teams. I can't really separate it.
Yeah. To be clear, I think they're both really good. If I have to answer the question, who do I like more? It's the Mets by a little bit.
Is there any scenario where you're going to the Reds unless your name's Sean's on?
I don't think so.
No, I got Jonathan India, Kyle Farmer, and Nick Senzel showed up in like one or two lineups. There's no volume here. It's up against Bassett, who's in 60% of my lineup. So the Reds are already limited to the other 40% of lineups that exist. I'm not going there. They look awful. They are awful. 91 WRC plus what I have for Steamer. They're just shitty.
278 expected WOBA to righties for Bassett, 281 to lefties. Bad lineup and good pitcher.
Yeah, he should carve these guys up. But it's baseball. Like, if they played this game 100, if this was the only game they could play and they played it 162 times, the Reds win so many times in that where you're just like, this could never happen, that it's really gross. Anything else here? Mets or Reds? So far, this has been a very easy slate to talk about.
Agreed.
Like,
and no.
Obviously, like the Blue Jays look exceptional. Obviously, the Mets look exceptional. And obviously, Chris Bassett against the Reds looks great. Like, there aren't really other takes to have there, which makes a baseball slate very interesting to figure out like where you want to be otherwise. Maybe it's here. Cubs and Nats, 4.5 run implied total for the Cubs, 3.3 for the Nats. Keegan Thompson and Anibal Sanchez. Thompson, I mentioned before, about 15% owned at 6,700. The most owned pay down option. The most owned guy below $7,900, Zach Gallen. Anibal Sanchez not really pulling any ownership. Same price tier as Keegan Thompson, 6,500. I don't really have any interest in Sanchez. I like-ish Keegan Thompson. I think the ownership is a little high, but I understand why he's getting it.
Yeah, like I had said earlier, I think that probably as the day goes on, you see Kikuchi's ownership come up a bit closer to Thompson. You see Kikuchi's top 2% come up a little bit closer to Thompson, but that's not like me taking away from Thompson. It's just saying that I don't think the gap ends up being that big. It's a good matchup. Weak Washington lineup. Obviously, no Josh Bell or Juan Soto anymore. Not a lot of strikeouts, but still a below average offense. 3.2 implied run total. Thompson's been solid enough this year. Only a 20% strikeout percentage. 4.54 xFIP. But at 6,700 facing the Nats, that's perfectly fine. 335 expected WOBA to righties. 306 to lefties this year. He's just a middle of the road pitcher in a good spot at a cheap price tag.
All right. Sanchez?
No.
Okay.
I mean, if you want, like, it's a 7-game slate, so he's 3% owned. Thompson's, 17%. If he landed in a lineup where, like, you needed to save ownership, then sure, but he's not somebody I'm going out of my way to get to.
How do you deal with stuff like that where on a 7-game slate, like our top pitchers tool has him as 10% to be a top 2 scorer. I had him at 8. So, like, I don't, call it that sort of range. Does that like open your eyes at all, or is it still just like he's still not interesting even at the ownership?
I just assume in most lineups I'm gonna have enough contrarian hitters that I'm not gonna really care. Like,
okay.
One thing that's interesting, and I really don't understand it. We have Sanchez projected higher than Kikuchi in like fantasy points.
Yeah, I've got Kikuchi by 1.2.
So, I mean, if that holds, having Sanchez projected higher, then I guess maybe I'll get more Sanchez than I'm expecting right now. But
okay.
I assume that's going to change. I don't really know how that's happening. Like, Kikuchi's got a 25.5% strikeout percentage. Sanchez is at 17%. Kikuchi's got a 4.36 xFIP. Sanchez is at 5.3. I don't know why Sanchez is projecting higher.
I know why it's happening, and so do you. But when I say it out loud, it's a depth of pitching thing. It's Kikuchi likely projected for like 4 innings, and Anibal Sanchez like 5.5. You get there by volume after a little bit, especially when when the projected points that you could have are very low. Every additional out becomes such a gigantic piece of what your projection ends up being. So I assume it's just we have Kikuchi not going very deep in this game, and we have Anibal Sanchez going quite a bit deeper.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah, and it's not an us thing either. Like, I just quickly started looking other places, and Sanchez around or ahead of Kikuchi is, I guess, the norm. So I don't know. Maybe I get to more Sanchez than I'm expecting.
Well, if it helps, you could just use my stuff where I have it the way that you think it should be. Once, at least.
I prefer winning at DFS.
That's fair. I mean, I'm gonna bite my tongue on this one.
Yeah, I almost didn't say it because I knew that it was just walking into it, but
I'm going to give you one. I'll chalk it up to early morning Mondays. Let's talk Cubs bats. 5th in our top stack tool, 4th in aggregate ownership. They get the benefit of facing Anibal Sanchez. 4.5 run implied total. You would hope for a little bit more. What do you see here for the Cubs?
There's a lot of strikeouts here, but there is some power, and Sanchez certainly not a good pitcher. So I got to a lot of Chicago yesterday. I think I'll probably be back there. Very limited sample for Sanchez so far this year. He's done an okay job limiting expected power. He's run pretty bad so far. 273 actual ISO, but only a 124 expected ISO to righties. 250 actual ISO, but only a 158 expected ISO to lefties. If you go back to the start of the 2020 season, though, 242 expected ISO to righties, 127 to lefties. I do think getting to the Cubs here makes some sense. Contreras, Suzuki, Happ, Horner, Wisdom, those guys all look pretty good.
This is my third most
supposed to be
exposed
71 degrees in Chicago, which makes me actually just want to go to Chicago, but
yes,
not great for hitting.
This is my third most exposed stack. It is the team. They're tied for the team that I'm most over the field on. We'll get to that other team in a little bit. But I see myself getting here just because I think it's a really nice spot to target against Anibal Sanchez. Yeah. I have no interest in... He doesn't miss bats. He projects for a FIP north of 5. Even if I don't think the Cubs offense is all that good, there's a little bit more power than I would have thought at first glance. It's really concentrated in that, if we skip Nico Herner, like the 2 through 6 spots. But I think I'm getting to Chicago, at least as of right now. We've already talked about my top 3 stacks, so that's always fun.
Yeah, I mean, the negative here, in addition to it being 71 degrees, is the wind is blowing in also. So that's why you see a 4.3 implied run total for the Cubs and 3.2 for the Nats.
Yeah, we could, if that starts to drop throughout the day, where, as we get closer, we can confirm that sort of weather. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see that sort of line come down. If the lineup comes out a little bit worse, it could also bring that down. So a game that I definitely need to pay attention to as we get closer to lock.
Yeah, and one other thing to add here from a pitching standpoint, because I said that I thought you would get Kikuchi starting to get more ownership and all that. Looking at projections, we have Thompson at 16 points. We have Kikuchi at 12. If that gap holds, then it makes sense why Thompson's getting more ownership.
I've got Thompson by 1.1 on Kikuchi, which is keeping everybody sort of in that same sort of range.
Your projections are in line with what my brain said when I first looked at things.
I feel like your brain at this particular time of the day is not a good thing to compare my projections to.
Well, I was gonna say you might want to change things up, but the numbers on the site are more in line with Thompson just clearly being better. So obviously I use data and not what I think, but your projections are in line with what I think. Our projections are in line with not what I think, but probably going to be right.
I completely agree with you. It makes me nervous to know that my projections are synced up with your brain at this moment, which is definitely at your 20th percentile brain at best.
Mm-hmm.
Nats bats, 12th in top stack, 8th in ownership. Is there something here on the opposite side of Thompson?
I don't really think so. I mean, the hitting conditions suck. We already talked about that. It's a negative for the Cubs. The Nats also suck. Victor Robles, assuming he's leading off at 2,300, is a reasonable value. Garcia and Voit are reasonable values, but I don't really want to get to the Nats here.
Neither do I, which means we are done this game, which means we could talk a little bit about Prize Picks, presenting sponsor of this show. I'm even repping the brand today. Got it on. Comfortable ass shirts too. Get your Prize Pick shirts if you can. I don't know if anybody can just get them, but if you can, get them because they're really, really comfortable. But that's...
I never got one, so I think you might be the only person that can get them.
I don't know. It seems like I get a lot of our sponsored stuff because I certainly have another T-shirt in my closet from beating you. So that one's not as comfortable though.
Yeah,
not as comfortable.
The only clothes I get are from DraftKings.
There you go. In life,
yeah,
it's that and hideous Balenciaga hoodies. Anyway, Awesemo is the promo code for you guys at Prize Picks. AWESEMO. You can get up to $100 match deposit bonus. So if you put in $50, they're only going to give you 50. They don't just give you 100 anyway. But if you put in 100, they will match with 100. And it's a great opportunity to just double your bankroll right out of the gate at Prize Picks. You don't have to worry about sharks or optimizers. You're basically building parlay cards, taking over-unders. If you get 5 of them correct, you can net up to 10x your entry fee. I'm going to hit Adam with a couple pitcher fantasy scores for right now. For example, Chris Bassett, 39.5.
You led into that way too quickly.
I don't think so. I don't think that's true. I mean, too quickly for you, but I have him at 36.7. We tend to run a little lower on some of these top guys, probably more of a stay away than anything else. On the opposite side of this one, we can go low if we want. Anibal Sanchez, over under 18.5.
Oh, over.
Yeah. I got him at 20, and I think that game might look even better as we get closer to locks.
We have him at 24.
There we go. Well, then let's look at another really low one before we finish it off. We'll go to your Orioles, Jordan Lyles, 18.5.
Also over.
Same. So I think we're learning that we want to take the shittiest guys that play each day.
Right.
In pitcher fantasy.
Well, and Lyles in particular, as long as he doesn't get like actually lit up, they're going to let him throw a bunch of pitches. Like his job on this team is to go out there and keep the bullpen from having to pitch. So he's going to throw enough pitches where he gets their own volume as long as he doesn't just give up a million runs.
Guys, go sign up at Prize Picks. And while you do that, open them up in another tab. Leave this video open on that tab and then hit the thumbs up because we're at 350 viewers and 87 likes. And it feels like we should have more likes than super chat revenue. So hit that thumbs up. Padres and Giants. 4.3 run implied total for the Padres. 3.2 for the Giants. Blake Snell and Alex Wood. Wood not really pulling any ownership at 7,600. And we'll talk about him in a little bit. But Blake Snell at 8,800 today is your most owned pitcher at 48%, so almost half of it. I certainly think that Blake Snell looks good. I prefer Chris Bassett, at least based on this ownership as of right now, and sort of based on the matchup. How do you see Snell today?
I think he looks great. The price tag is certainly reasonable at 8,800. He has the highest strikeout percentage on the slate by a huge margin, 30.2% strikeout percentage for Snell. Next highest is Kikuchi at 25.5%. His xFIP is like 0.7 of a run worse than Snell's. Bassett is 6 points below Snell, slightly better xFIP for Bassett, but I totally understand the ownership for Snell. I'm with you in that I think it's a better matchup for Bassett, but Snell's getting close to 50% ownership. I think it's deserved. Right now, we have Snell with a 33% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, Bassett at 25%. So it's pretty much in line with, the gap in ownership as well.
So I have Bassett actually a bit higher from a top pitcher perspective. I think it's a depth thing. Like, I don't have Blake Snell going particularly deep in this game as far as general starters go. I do have Bassett going north of 6 innings, and that is what's really driving him up. Prize Picks strikeout prop is 1 strikeout ahead for Snell, 7 for Snell, 6 for Bassett. Ultimately, if everything holds like this, I know for sure I'm going to have more Chris Bassett, but I still have Blake Snell as my second most exposed pitcher. I don't want to like make it seem like I don't like Snell, and seems to me that the cash combination is going to be, it should be Bassett Snell. Those prices are not problematic today.
Yeah, completely.
The only other option is Zach Gallen.
Right. Yeah, and to put it in context, we have Snell projected 2.5 points higher than Bassett, and then we have Bassett like 0.75 of a point higher than Gallen. But Gallen, at a cheaper price tag. So I would expect that it's Snell Bassett if you end up needing Gallen instead of Bassett. I think that's reasonable. Snell, one way or the other, though, I expect to be a cash pitcher.
Well, I think we finally found the spot where you're going to be with our projections and not with mine. I have Bassett by 2 fantasy points.
I don't actually hate that, which I'm sure doesn't make you feel any better, but
kind of does.
Like, I think Bassett's a better. Basically, Snell just scares the shit out of me whenever he pitches.
Yeah. The Giants aren't bad. Like they're a legitimate offense on a day like today. Like the gap between the Giants and the Reds, I have the Giants at a 108 WRC plus and the Reds at 91. Like we're talking about 2 very different things. I don't think Snell's stuff and his lack of depth in a game makes up for the fact that he doesn't get to face the Reds.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I think Snell should be the higher projected pitcher just because the strikeout percentage is so different between the two, but he definitely has the worst matchup, and he's so volatile. Like, he walks guys, he can get in trouble so quickly that it scares me. But so it's like, I understand. Like, I don't hate your projection, but I also do think Snell should be projected higher.
Interesting. Okay. What about Alex Wood? 7,600. The problem here, like, he's obviously a good pitcher. The problem lies in the fact that he has to face an all-star team, or at least part of an all-star team.
Right. It is kind of interesting to me that he's not getting any ownership. Like, he's a good pitcher. 3.29 xFIP is actually the best on the entire slate. 23.5% strikeout percentage is fourth behind Snell, Kikuchi, and Bassett. In terms of talent, this guy should not be 3% owned on a 7-game slate. But I also understand it because, you're facing Juan Soto and Manny Machado and Brandon Drury and the rest of this team.
Josh Bell.
Yeah, like, obviously not in the same category as those guys, but still good. Jake Cronenworth is good, so I do like Wood at 7,600 as like a contrarian pitching option, just because you're rostering arguably the best real life pitcher on the slate at no ownership and a cheap price tag. But I just don't have a lot of confidence either because Padres are good.
Would you rather roster the unowned Padres or the unowned Alex Wood?
Probably Alex Wood.
Okay.
But it's also like it's going to be difficult to get to him too. Like, looking at our projections, we have him at 13.5 DraftKings points. So, like, we have him projected behind not only, Snell, Bassett, Gallen, but behind Thompson, Logan Gilbert, Tyon, Cole Irvin. So it's going to be tough to get there outside of lineups where, like, you're actively looking to get low-owned pitchers.
I got him in 7% of lineups, and I think that's about the best that I could hope for in this spot. Let's talk bats. I guess we'll talk Padres bats. 7th in our top stack tool. They are dead last in value. Pretty expensive here, but 11th in ownership. So there is some wiggle room. I didn't get to the Padres at this point. Machado, 10% owned right now. The only guy that's really pulling anything of significance. Soto, too, to a lesser degree, but you guys aren't going to be surprised that Juan Soto and Manny Machado are owned. Do you see yourself getting to San Diego?
No, not really. They're expensive. Wood is good. I doubt that I really get to either side.
Okay. Yeah, Giants are dead last in top stack. They're facing the most owned pitcher. I mean, like, it would make more sense to go to the Giants, right?
Probably.
Like, Blake Snell is sort of prone to that, like, that volatility that we talked about makes the Giants slightly more interesting.
Yeah. The one caveat I will mention on the Padres is I've actually been getting to a lot of them recently, even on slates where I don't think I'm going to. So it's entirely possible I do end up playing them. But, just talking through the slate, I don't love that idea. For the Giants, I'm not really excited about getting there either, but it is a 7-game slate. You do have the volatility in Snell, and he's really popular. So I think there's a pretty decent case to be made for the Giants. The issue is, in addition to facing Blake Snell, the issue is, the same as usual. You're talking about a bunch of guys that are probably not going to be hitting after the 6th inning.
Yeah, I got like just under 3%. This is not going to, well, I wouldn't mind if I ended up being like 2x the field on the Giants. That would not be something that I was mad about, just because I could see how that plays on the slate. It doesn't look like that's going to be happening. I don't have anything else here.
Me neither.
Diamondbacks and Pirates. 4.9 run implied total for the D-backs. 3.2 for the Pirates. Zach Gallen, and it's looking like Chase DeYoung is going to be the long man here. Zach Gallen is 38% owned at 7,900. It's a not very good Pirates team. It's a Zach Gallen at a pretty decent price point. I don't really have much to say. The 3 guys that are getting all of the ownership, Bassett, Snell, and Gallen, are very clearly, to me, the 3 best options today.
Yeah, I agree. Gallen, 23.3% strikeout percentage this year, 3.84 xFIP, facing the Pirates. There's not a lot that needs to be said there. It's just a good pitcher in a good matchup at a favorable price tag.
Yeah.
Did you know the World Excel Championships were on ESPN?
On ESPN?
Yesterday?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I just saw a tweet about it.
I can't watch that shit, man. It just makes me feel bad. They're so much better than me.
And obviously that's like the biggest skill that you have.
Yes, it really is. I mean, being awesome I don't know if they have like the World Being Awesome championships on ESPN ever, but that I could imagine getting the call for.
Yeah. I'm sure nobody in the Excel championship was wearing a Justin Timberlake shirt.
I mean, they would give anything to have that shirt. Let's be clear. It's a fantastic shirt. Unquestionably my favorite shirt that I own. I need to get all 5 of them. I've looked. They're hard to hunt down. I guess a lot of people, a lot of girls that are the size of a 6'2", 200-pound man didn't like. They probably still have their Chris Kirkpatrick shirts.
Right. Yeah. I was mildly annoyed when somebody complimented your shirt that I am very sure cost 1/20th of what I was wearing, and not mine.
I bought it in a Goodwill for $4.
Yep, that's 1/20th of what I was wearing.
It's the best shirt ever. But yeah, I've looked. They're hard to hunt down. It would be great to own them all, but a boy can dream. A boy can dream. Yeah, I've always wondered like who was in this shirt before me, because it's clearly like it wasn't another man that looked like me for sure.
Right, but it fits you, so it was
perfectly too.
Yeah. It was probably somebody in the WNBA.
Something like that. All right. I know we're not talking about the Pirates bats in any sort of major way, other than the fact that their value. Do you see anything for Pittsburgh against Gallen?
I do not. I mean, Brian Reynolds at 4K, O'Neal Cruz at 4,200. Those guys are both reasonable, but like a 3 flat implied run total here, it's just not a team that I would expect to get to. I think if we're talking about offenses going up against popular pitchers, the Giants are probably the one that I would get to first.
Yeah. If we're talking about offenses that it looks like I'm going to be fading, we're also going to be talking about one here. That would be the Arizona Diamondbacks. 3rd in our top stack tool, 3rd in aggregate ownership. I am quite a bit below the field here. The biggest fade that I have on the slate is the Diamondbacks. I had 5.5% in the aggregate. They're pulling 12.5. So talk to me about Arizona. Do you see them as a positive stack?
I think they look good. I mean, it's a favorable matchup. Tyler Beede probably going to throw like 40 to 50 pitches. I'm not sure who's coming in after him, but nearly a 5 implied run total for the Diamondbacks. They're not expensive, so not that you really need hitter value on this slate, but if you stack Arizona, it's going to allow you to just get to whatever you want. We do have them going a little bit over-owned here. I think that I would prefer clearly just to get to the Mets and the Blue Jays because they're actual good offenses, but I understand why the ownership's coming in for Arizona just from a value perspective.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by it. Like they came out of my top stack 3rd. I understand it, but yeah, I'm going to end up being like half the field here. I don't think that they're a particularly good offense. I see them so far behind the Blue Jays, the Mets.
And I just don't think the value is going to matter that much. Like it's not like if you don't stack Arizona, you can't get to Snell, Gallen, and Bassett.
Right, like I already have 60% Bassett, and I'm still not getting to the Diamondbacks. So like I don't need their value that way.
Right, like my first thought when I looked at the top stacks tool today was the Mets, the Blue Jays, the Diamondbacks, the 3 teams clearly pulling a lot of ownership. Just when you talk about those offenses, the Diamondbacks are the one that I would love to kick out of that group.
I don't have anything else here, Diamondbacks or Pirates. I do, however, have a promo code for you guys. That would be MLB Strategy Show. One gigantic word, all caps, MLB Strategy Show. You can get yourself 50% off your first week of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Covers everything. Just because it's an MLB promo code doesn't mean it's just MLB. The NFL is here now. Preseason is here. So we've got NFL, MLB, PGA, auto racing, whether that's NASCAR or F1, MMA, trucks. Yeah, maybe there's trucks. I don't think we have trucks projections.
We do.
Do we really?
Yeah, I told you I've played trucks, and I don't play things that we don't have projections for.
I mean, just because you say you've played trucks doesn't necessarily mean that we provide content for trucks.
I've never played a sport that we do not have projections for.
I mean, we have projections for everything, so that's a safe bet. But I didn't know that we had trucks. That's for sure. I didn't know trucks was a thing other than Prize Picks, let alone I didn't know that it was somewhere else.
Yeah, no.
Anyway.
It's under the NASCAR tab on DraftKings.
Well, you could access those trucks projections by using the promo code MLB Strategy Show so that you can get 50% off your first week. Come see what we have behind the paywall. Get your feet wet now before the NFL season actually does kick off in a couple weeks. 2 games to go. A's and Angels. 3.8 run implied total for the A's, 3.6 for the Angels. Cole Irvin and Jose Suarez. Both of these guys are owned very similarly. Cole Irvin, 12% owned at 8,200. Jose Suarez, 11% owned at 7K. Which pitcher would you rather have today?
Between Suarez and Irvin?
Yes, between the 2 pitchers in this game.
Yeah, I was just, kind of trying to buy time while I thought about it. Appreciate you being an asshole. I think it's close. I mean, it's a good matchup for both of them. We have Suarez right now with an 11% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. We have Irvin at 15%, similar ownership. I guess I would lean Irvin just because of the strikeouts that the Angels provide.
I got the 12% Irvin, match the field. I'm a little under on Jose Suarez. Not really a guy that I'm trying to get to. So, and I mean, this is a battle of the two. Like, this is the worst offense game on today's slate, so that should be a real treat. I've got both teams under 100 WRC plus, just awful. Both teams, a 150 and a 151 ISO, same strikeout rate. I'll probably get to more Irvin because he'll go deeper in the game, but I don't get the sense that I'm going to have a lot of either one of these guys.
Yeah, I think that they're a tier behind the other popular pitchers we've talked about, but it does make sense to me that they are pulling some ownership just because neither of these offenses can hit.
Do you want to go to either one of these offenses? They are 7th and 9th in our ownership, 8th and 9th in our top stack tool. Is there a side of this game you would want to get more?
Probably the Angels. Actually, no, I think it's pretty close. We have the Angels with a 5.5% top stack percentage. We have the A's at 4.5%. A little bit more ownership coming to Oakland because as a whole, they're cheaper. Obviously, the Angels have the best hitter in the game. It's also supposed to be 68 degrees in Oakland, which again sounds fantastic, but not great hitting weather. So mostly I would assume I'm just getting to some pitching here and not too much in the way of offenses.
Are we going to have Ohtani today?
What?
He collided with Marco Gonzalez near the on deck circle in yesterday's game, and he's okay. But if he's feeling sore or something like that, that will make the Angels look a lot worse. I got to both of these teams.
Was Ohtani just like on deck and Gonzalez ran into him?
I think so. Okay. That's the way that I'm reading it right now. I knew that I saw something like that earlier today, so I just wanted to check it out. But I'm actually over the field on both the Angels and A's. Not to any sort of aggressive degree, but I did get a little bit more here than I was expecting to. So it's kind of gross. It's kind of gross, especially in Oakland. This is not a game that I would want to get to, but evidently it's happening, and I don't really know why.
Well, I mean, it's a 7-game slate, and there's been a lot of teams that we're not really looking to get to, so I get it.
Yeah. When you have to draw a line pretty quickly through the Reds and the Nats and the Pirates, eventually you just have to get to something else. So what do any specific bats here stand out to you more than others? And don't say Ohtani.
Well, that was going to be my answer. But Taylor Ward at 3,900, I think is a really good price point. On the other side for Oakland, Sean Murphy at catcher is something that I typically get to pretty easily. Ramon Laureano looks pretty good. You do have value at the top with Jonah Bride and Chad Pinder, assuming that they're hitting 1-2. So there are some bats that look good. Max Stassi, that catcher as well, has some power.
I've got 6 guys across this game, 3 on the A's, 3 on the Angels that have MPEs. That makes things a lot easier. And they're good MPEs too. Second, third, first outfield, second short, second, third, second short. Like those are,
both of these pitchers allow some power to righties as well. Suarez 189 expected ISO, Irvin 204. This park is obviously going to downplay the power, the weather and the park. So it's just not a good hitting spot, but it is reasonably good matchups for these right-handed power bats.
You ready to close this one out?
Yep.
Mariners and Yankees, 3.9 run implied total for the Mariners, 4 for the Yankees. Logan Gilbert and Jamison Taillon. Gilbert 10% owned right now. Taillon 8% owned. I've got like twice the field on both of these guys. I'm leaning more towards pitching than hitting, and I'm a little surprised that I am. What do you see for Gilbert or Tyon, whoever you want to go to?
Lack of ownership, really.
Yeah.
It's clearly a bad matchup for Gilbert, but he's also only 8,400. It's kind of similar to the Alex Wood spot where you're getting one of the more talented pitchers on the slate. Gilbert has a 22.7% strikeout percentage, 3.8 xFIP, top pitch, one of the best pitching prospects in baseball, and he's already having success in the majors, but obviously a brutal matchup against the Yankees. You are in Seattle, though, which is a favorable park to pitch in. Only a 3.8 implied run total for the Yankees is one of the lowest that I'm sure we've seen this year. So I have some interest in Gilbert, just given that he's not getting much ownership. And then Tyon, I'm really surprised he's not getting more ownership at 7,700 because you don't have Julio Rodriguez for the Mariners. They did get Mitch Haniger back, so that makes their lineup look a little bit better, but good park to pitch in. Tyon is just a, kind of average-ish pitcher, 20.8% strikeout percentage, 3.81 xFIP. I'm a little surprised he's not getting more ownership than he is.
Yeah, right now I have 18% Tyon. I've got 17% Gilbert, and I'm pretty happy with those numbers given their current ownership percentages. Like that works for me. What I'm not getting to, however, are either the Yankees bats or the Mariners bats. Yankees are pulling some ownership too. Not that that's all that surprising. They're the Yankees. They should generally be pulling some ownership, but 6th in top stacks, 6th in ownership. I'm light here. Now, Judge is the guy that's pulling most of it, but I don't really have much of the Yankees. I don't have much of the Mariners. I'm more pitching than offense here. How do you feel about the offenses?
Tough spot for both. I do think that there's some stuff you can point to just in terms of, the Yankees being really good offensively. Gilbert has allowed a 185 expected ISO to right-handed hitters this year. So, he's a good pitcher, but he will give up some power. On the other side, typically you want to target Tyon with lefties. 190 expected ISO, 346 expected WOBA to lefties compared to 132 expected ISO, 288 expected WOBA to righties. So Jesse Winker at 3,800, I think, is the guy that really stands out for me. But I'm with you. I think I probably get to more pitching than hitting here.
Didn't see this one coming when I first prepped this slate, but turns out it's the Logan Gilbert Jameson Tyon day.
Yeah.
Yankees have 2 guys on FanDuel that have 3 positions. LeMahieu, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Matt Carpenter, 1st, 3rd outfield. So there's that. Anything else you want to touch on here?
Nope.
All right. Sum it up. Favorite stacks?
Mets, Toronto, Cubs, I guess.
Okay. Favorite pitchers?
Snell, Bassett, Gallen.
Okay. Let's see here now. Where do I see these better stats? I've got one thing that I want to look at quickly before we get out of here. Where is it? WRC plus.
What are you looking for?
Nothing. We're good. So, Adam, you will have your GPP videos maybe shortly.
Yeah, in the next couple hours.
There we go. You'll be back for the deeper dive in a bit. I will be back for Live Before Lock. So, guys, hit that like button, subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff. We're going to get out of here. 7-game slate. Pay attention. 2 more hours of content coming up later tonight. Thank you to Prize Picks for being the presenting sponsor. We're out of here. Peace.